Today we are going to be talking about the most complicated baseball legacy on and off the field of all time. A man who may or may not have killed 3 people, a man who is the most feared baseball player in the history of the game, and once sent 12 people to the hospital in one season, and was so hated that 4 people went to his funeral. Tyrus Raymond Cobb, also known as Ty Cobb, was born in a small town with only around 2,000 people named Royston, Georgia, on December 18, 1886. Lots of people say Ty Cobb was a terrible person who was a murderer, a racist, and a selfish beast. Although many people believe that Ty Cobb was none of those things and was nothing more than a great baseball player and competitor. Cobb went to elementary school at Royston Elementary. When Cobb was in 5th grade, there was an incident when a little boy in Cobb's class had purposely misspelled a word to let the girls win a spelling bee. This boy was chunky and had very little ability to partake in athletic activities. Ty Cobb was so angry that he lost his spelling bee that he beat the kid up. This was just a glimpse of what Ty Cobb was going to become later in life. Cobb lived a life with intensity and seriousness that nobody else did. Ty Cobb went to high school at Royston High School. Just 3 days before being drafted, Ty Cobb's father was sadly shot and killed by his mother. This was an incident that had changed Cobb's life forever. This had happened when Ty Cobb's father, known as William Cobb, had come back to the house late at night, and Cobb's mother, Amanda Cobb, had mistaken him for a burglar and shot and killed Cobb's father. The reason of why she killed him let Amanda Cobb be acquitted with voluntary manslaughter. When Cobb came into the league, he wanted to make sure he was going to win, and he was dedicated to knocking down anyone or anything to do so. Cobb was a fierce competitor, and this was true because he was known for sending 12 men to the hospital in just one season. Everyone hated Cobb. He was so hated for the way he played, and this was true because in the 1900s, baseball was known as a gentleman's game and only a game. But to Cobb, baseball was life and death. Cobb was known for sharpening the spikes on his cleats with the intent to hurt someone. When Cobb would slide into a base, he would kick his leg up and look to tear up another player's leg, chest, or even, if given the opportunity, their head. This was how Cobb started to change the game forever. After years of Ty Cobb being in the league, baseball was no longer a game. It was war. Players had started to try and win games and talk trash to each other during games. However, still no players were as fierce as Ty Cobb was. On May 15, 1912, in a game against New York, Cobb had heard a New York fan yelling at him from the stands. He was sitting close to the field, so he was loud and clear for all the players. Ty Cobb walked up to him, and the man had stated that Ty Cobb was part African American. Ty Cobb had a short fuse and had no tolerance for these kinds of things, so Ty Cobb proceeded to beat the man who had no hands. This was a severe incident that led to the first baseball player strike and the use of replacement players. Unfortunately, this was not the only time Ty Cobb had killed someone, as one time he had been walking around in Royston and someone tried to pickpocket Cobb. Cobb then pulled out his pistol and beat the man to death. This was obviously not a good look for Cobb. However, another time, after a baseball game, a black groundskeeper had tried to shake Ty Cobb's hand. Ty Cobb slapped the man's hand away and chased to the dugout and beat the man. Cobb then started strangling the man's wife when she ran towards the man, and he killed her. In 1928, Ty Cobb's long 22-year career had come to an end when he made the decision to retire. By the end of his career at this time, Ty Cobb was easily the greatest baseball player to ever play the game, and Cobb had retired with an amazing 4,189 hits and a .366 career batting average. Ty Cobb had also hit over 400 3 different times, and the best being .419 in 1911 at age 24. He was an 11-time batting average leader with only 117 home runs total. Cobb was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1936, but years after he retired in 1928, he had donated $100,000 to the town of Royston to build the very first hospital in Royston, which was known as the Ty Cobb Memorial Hospital. This was a big stepping stone into making Ty Cobb healthcare. However, on June 10, 2009, the hospital was closed, so the nearby town of Lavania could build a $52 million, 56-bed hospital. It is now the Ty Cobb Regional Medical Center. A famous sports writer named Al Stump, who at the time was the highest paid sports writer in the country and had one day in 1960 been called by Cobb and was told that Cobb wanted to write a book about Cobb. This meant that Stump would follow and basically live for Cobb for 2 years. When Stump met Cobb, he thought he was crazy and selfish, so Stump had started to write how bad of a person that Ty Cobb was. When Cobb found out about the things that Stump was writing about Cobb, Cobb basically threatened out the life of Al Stump. This gave Stump an idea to keep two books written: The Truth About Ty Cobb and How Great of a Person He was the other book. One time in 1961, Stump and Cobb were on their way to Lake Tahoe in Nevada. It got dark, and they both agreed they needed to stay the night at a motel. Stump and Cobb were both sleeping in different rooms, but they were separated by a wall. Before they both fell asleep, Stump and Cobb heard lots of commotion outside. Stump had seen a bunch of drunk people partying outside in a parking lot, and they also heard the loud voice of Cobb yelling curse words. He then heard 3 gunshots fired out Cobb's window as Stump watched and heard people climbing over each other just to get away. Luckily, nobody was hurt in this incident. Even at age 74, Ty Cobb still had no tolerance for anyone if they were just disrupting his sleep. On July 17th, 1961, Tyrus Raymond Cobb had passed away peacefully in his sleep due to prostate cancer at age 74. Cobb will always be remembered as one of the greatest baseball players of all time and the most fierce competitor ever in the game. However, despite being so great, Cobb's funeral was only attended by 4 people.